Happy fall, Arvada United Methodist Church. My name is Tammy Box, and I am your finance lead. Now, I know this crisp weather that we're experiencing, especially after such a long, hot summer in some ways with a few heat spells. I know it's making a lot of you think about things like pumpkin patches and also that pumpkin spice beverage that so many of you crave during this weather, sweaters, Broncos games, any of that good stuff. For some of us, though, fall makes me think of data and numbers and budgets. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's certainly the season for it. So as we move as a church together through our season of looking at numbers and renewing our commitments to our church and the good that we do in our community and in the world, I wanted to take a quick moment and give you a quick overview of our continued financial stability. So as we finish up 2021, there are a couple goals that we have in mind, and they're pretty simple actually. The first is, of course, to finish strong, and that means financially and as a community. But also, we want to continue to care for our house and our family, our congregation. And caring for our house, as you know, our church building and some of our infrastructure has some wear and tear. So there are things that we are looking at for the future to really build that up and improve some things. And then we also want to, as we ease through our holiday season, sustain and grow AUMC. We know we have some wonderful new members, some people joining us, and we want to continue to reach out and spread the good word that we do in our community and share that with others. So that's the general overview of our goals as a church, but let me talk you through a few of the things with the numbers part. So just a quick trip down through history. Some of you may remember this quite well, pre-pandemic, so it's, a little further back in our history. But in 2019, we found that we were faced with a bit of a deficit and a hurdle that we had to overcome. We asked the church to step up, and all of you did in incredible ways. We had a harvest offering and really came together as a community and were able to really balance out by the end of 2019. When we moved into 2020, it was very exciting. We had a balanced budget that we passed, and it was for $921,456. I always remember that number, and I could just let it rattle off of my tongue because I'm so excited, like so many of you, to really build that momentum from the harvest offering, from our season of commitment in 2019, and turn the page in 2020, so full of excitement with what we were going to do. And of course, that little red blob on the figure that you're seeing represents something that kind of stuck in our way. Instead of panicking and instead of falling down on our knees, we actually picked each other up and really worked through it together. So no, we did not finish 2020 with a 900,000+ year. We had to scale down and we had to reinvent ourselves. But we did that keeping our income and expenses balanced, and that's been our goal. So it was a strong finish last year. Then as we moved into 2021, this year, we had our program teams all evaluate their budgets based on 3 scenarios. You may have heard me talk about this in the past, because we weren't sure this year, would we be able to open our church the full year? Would we be able to open our facilities mid-year and resume some of our normal functions and rentals and things like that? Or would we be going a full year with our doors closed? When we looked at this in June and I gave you an update, it looked like we picked correctly. We picked kind of the mid-year scenario, which was a budget of around 920,000-ish. We were feeling really good about that. I still feel good about that. We are still on track with our budget and our income and expenses balanced for 2021. But as we look at 2022, I think we all have a real sense of confidence that we will start moving back into what we would consider more of a normal pattern, where we're getting together in groups. Maybe we're able to hug each other again. But that doesn't put aside all of the improvements and all the things that we're already working on and doing as a community. So when you look at this figure, you'll see that we're looking at a budget somewhere around $980,000 for 2022. That's what our programs have told us that they want to pull in and use to be able to sustain what we're doing now and also build for this incredible future. Keeping in mind that we've been able to connect virtually and in other ways through new ministries and new outreach that we haven't done previously. So when you look at where we need to be in terms of our income and expenses, we are growing and we want to live into that. So our current picture, just wanted to lay this out for you in this table. So these numbers are as of August 31st. And what you see in the first column under budgeted, we should be at about 2/3 of our expenses and income. Approximately, things come in various time frames, but we are balanced. As a matter of fact, we're a little bit ahead. So what you see in the current column, the second column over, is that we are ahead by about $76,000. Now I want to guide you over to the gray columns in the far right. Our current income includes $132,500 that we received from the Paycheck Protection Plan grant. So originally this was a loan and it was forgiven last year, I think in July. So it turned it into a grant. We didn't need to use that last year. One thing, we didn't live out that $921,456 budget. We instead had to pivot and do things differently. So we didn't actually need to apply that last year. We carried it over to this year. So we applied that $132,000 to this year's budget, and that is part of our income line. So I wanted you to see in those gray columns on the far right what things look like if we didn't have the $132,000. And in fact, we're still doing pretty well. Yes, if we took that out of the income line, we would be behind by about $56,500. Now, I will note that we have had other impacts to our income from last year. As I mentioned earlier, we have new people coming into our church, but we also lost some people who are important members of our congregation and really helped us. So right now, without the PPP, if we took that out of our income, we would be a little bit behind. What we think, though, is that we will probably have some of that excess to carry over to 2022, and that'll help us out a lot. The last thing I wanted to show you in a picture is how our commitments look. So this is a picture I've been updating since 2014, and really what you're seeing is the income we received primarily through contributions and commitments, and how that contributes to our overall expenses every month. So one of the things you'll note here is that there's a little bit of a seasonality of giving. Now, previous years are in gray, and the current year is in blue. And what you can see from the current year projections is that our commitments and the contributions we are making to sustain this church continue to be very strong. 2021 has been a unique year, though, because we are not fully open, and we're not opening up our facilities to allow rentals, and we're not bringing in money through other mechanisms that we usually count on that are really reliable in person. Because of those things, our income this year is really heavily dependent on commitments. We've responded beautifully, and I want to thank all of you for your commitments and your generosity to be able to sustain us through these incredibly challenging times. We need to carry that forward. So I promise this is the last figure I'm showing you, but what you're seeing on this screen is really the stability of our church and the continued commitments that we've had to sustain what we're doing. So as we look toward 2022, I want to give you a fresh sense of urgency. So everything you're seeing here, we want to take all the good we've done through the pandemic and expand that even further. As you're moving into your commitment season, think about how can we grow together? How can we reach new people? How can we keep all those people virtually in our community who are new to our church? And then how can we celebrate being in a beloved community with each other and the promises of our constant faith? So I look forward in the next coming weeks and months to recommitting to Arvada United Methodist Church and all of the good work we do together. I look forward to doing that and walking on that journey with all of you. Happy fall.
Thanks to Tammy Box, our finance chair, for giving us an update about where we are at our financial health as a congregation right now. It is so important that as we sustain the ministries and missions of the church, as we resource our community for hopeful ministry, as we continue to sustain our ministries of worship and music and education, that we stay healthy in our financial givings and offerings as a way of not only celebrating the goodness of God through this incredible past 18 months, but also celebrating the privilege of being a community of hope and peace and inclusion to this wider community and region around us. Starting in October, on October 10th, we are going to launch our annual Stewardship campaign. You'll be hearing about opportunities to make a pledge for 2022 and to resource our ministries for this next year. Our church leaders and our staff recently met, and we celebrated a stretch goal for our congregation to expand our giving and our resourcing for ministry by about $60,000, and to set as our stretch goal a budget proposal for 2022 of $979,000 and some change. That's a stretch over where we were last year, but we believe that our congregation, as we have continued to remain faithful to the needs and to the ways that we want to be in ministry and service in this next year, we believe that we can step into that space of faith and of hope with God and with one another to resource that ministry budget. You'll be receiving some mailings that will explain more about the budget, and also, more importantly, the stories of how lives are being touched and transformed through the ministries of Arvada United Methodist Church. Take a look at those resources as they come into your mailbox and email. Look for a pledge card to start praying over and thinking about for 2022. And especially watch for a blessings calendar to come out in October, where every day you'll be able to see on Facebook and through our e-blasts a special prayer of blessing written by someone in our congregation who celebrates the ways their lives have been touched and transformed, and also the ways that we are continuing to further our witness as a congregation in our neighborhood, in our region, and in our world. It is a joy to be in ministry with you, and we look forward to the ways that God will enhance and even touch and just bless our lives as we continue to pray about and consider the ways we will be joyful givers in 2022. Thank you so much.